Hello everyone and welcome to the Reds Transfer Roundup with me, Ste Hoare, again joined by Chris Pajak and again by Paul Machin, and this week we've got John Reid over in the corner. We're going to be talking a few ins, a few out, and at the end, I promise you, we're going to get to our hot Suso discussion. Honestly, I've had it planned for like weeks and weeks, and we just keep running out of time. We're going to do Suso. Okay?
We've got to, it's Freeview week. This is going out to everybody on YouTube. We have to do the hot Suso talk today.
I will.
I love the way that, can I just say, expertly dropped in there, Chris. I feel like we probably should have briefed Ste on the Freeview weekness of it. It's Freeview week, Ste.
Hello everyone who's usually watching. let me tell you how the show. This is new to me. Reds Transfer Roundup, it kind of explains itself. We discuss transfer links and news regarding Liverpool. There you go. Good summary.
As good as it's going to get.
Could have been, yeah. Well, the words were fine. I'm not happy with the intonation, but you know what? It's underway. I don't know
what that word means, so I'm going to just presume it was all positive.
Absolutely.
Right, okay. Liverpool apparently are asking for 20 million for Mamadou Sakho. Southampton, Swansea, Sevilla, Galatasaray all linked. You know what?
Right.
Galatasaray. It's not an apple or the bingo. The agenda says Gala.
I wondered why you were talking about Gala bingo in the office before.
We wonder what Gala.
Yeah, I wrote the agenda. Yeah,
I got
Gala.
it.
Yeah,
I got it.
Now I get it.
Yeah.
Can I do a peep behind the curtain? We're filming this on Wednesday, so if we have signed someone or sold someone or anything like that, you know why we haven't spoken about it. Like if Sakho has already held the Swansea shirt up and we're asking where he's going to go.
It's Time's fault, not ours.
Basically,
I like that.
Yeah, don't blame us. Blame Liverpool for getting to the EFL Cup semi-final.
No, blame Time.
Or Time. Yeah. Stephen Hawkins, you've got lots of answer for, mate. So Liverpool.
So it's not Morris Day and the. We're not
Don't blame Morris Day in the Time because they say no bad word about the Time. Is all I'm saying.
Time magazine. Is it their fault?
We can blame Time magazine. I think they put Trump on the front once, didn't they?
Anyway, 20 million for Sakho, Chris.
Yeah.
Is that fair for us to be looking for that? Is that what he's worth?
Totally, yeah, totally. In this market, certainly, I think Liverpool are right to hold out for a profit, if nothing else. I think it was 17 million, am I right in saying, that we signed him for? He's been a French international. He was a massive part of the side that got us to a Europa League final last season and a Carling Cup final or League Cup final or whatever. He's a bloody good centre-back. I've enjoyed watching him play. I think when you're an outsider looking in, and maybe fans of other clubs will say he's a bit calamitous and stuff, but when we were there and we were living it last season, he was as good a centre-back as we've got at the club. And I think that, you know, there was times this season when we certainly could have used him.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? And I think, you know, arguably he's a better centre-back than some of the players that have been playing centre-back for us.
At least Lucas.
Yeah, at least Lucas.
Possibly Clavan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But the fact of the matter is, he's a good player. And, you know, I've seen so many times, I was talking about this on the weekend briefing / Liverpool stats show. I've seen so many times where a player just doesn't fit with a club. Now, this is a weird one because Mamadou Sakho fits perfectly
with the management.
Exactly. He fits not only with the club, but he fits with the fan base. Yeah. And he's everything that we wanted in a centre-back. But, you know what? When the manager has a clear idea of what he wants from his players and he's trying to cultivate an atmosphere at a football club with a group of players, and that one player, regardless of how good he is, doesn't fit in, then you back the manager, who I believe is going to bring us a league title. And I'm going to back Klopp 100% every single time he makes a decision like this.
I'll admit, you've turned my opinion on this slightly, because I initially thought, like, fucking go ahead, Liverpool. Put your big balls on the table and just dance around them, because that's an incredible stance to take for a guy who's playing under 20. He's only playing under 23 football this season, who you've basically put alongside Thiago Ilori, who we'll come on to talk about in a little bit. But you know, you're selling him for a handful of millions of pounds. But you're dead right. You know, the fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter that he's been bombed out of Liverpool's team. It's actually completely irrelevant. This is not Mario Balotelli. This is not a lad who has seen his career dwindle to the point where no fucker wants him. This is the point there. Mamadou Sakho, at most other football clubs, would probably be able to be. You could put up with his antics or the way he's handled himself, because God, who cares really? But it's part of this mentality that Jurgen Klopp and his team have been building, particularly over the summer, where there's no one rule for one player and another rule for the others. He said, these are the rules, you've broken them, therefore you don't fit, therefore I don't want you, you're an asset that I can sell and move on. So yeah, fair fucks to Liverpool if they get. To be fair, if they get 15 million plus for him, I'd be happy with that. But now that you've said that, I actually kind of want more.
Or Van Dijk.
And John, I'll come to you. Van Dijk's being, touted at 50. He's a better centre half than Sakho, I'd say, but 30 million better, probably not. So, and John, in a season where I know he's a little bit younger, but John Stones has moved for 50 million quid. Eric Bailey from United, 30 odd million quid.
You can see international. He was keeping Lauren Koscielny out of that team. And how much would Lauren Koscielny move for?
Probably 40-ish, maybe.
As a player, I think we'd all agree he's worth that price, and I'd have liked it to work out. I think he's a good guy, but as a buying club, would you think that they're going to be prepared to spend 20 million on a lad who, now we know, has got a reputation? This is the second team who are getting shut of him for stuff that isn't connected to on the field, it's off the field, and that's a huge red flag. We've been through that I know it's a different situation, Paul, with Balotelli, but we bought a lad with red flags, knowing it's a risk. For a team like Swansea or Southampton or Sevilla or Gala, Apples, to spend 20 million quid on a lad with red flags, I can see why they might be thinking that's a bit too much, and we could end up having to reduce our asking price, maybe.
I disagree.
Can I just say you're slotting into the main chair role big time, really well here, Steve. That was a lot of words in a question.
It's good that you can see it in yourself.
It's weird being from the outside looking in, isn't it? Like, it's great. Carry on, John.
No, I disagree with that. I think it's perfectly reasonable, and I think the thing with him is he's come from PSG, and I'll be honest, what is the French league in terms of like how it's set up in terms of players? He was always going to thrive in a PSG team because there's not really much challenge for him there. Coming to Liverpool, he's shown he's clearly a good player. And if he goes to like a Swansea or a Galatasaray, for me, he's a big fish in a smaller pond there. Swansea need help near the bottom of the league. They've clearly lost a lot, and more than just what they were getting from Ashley Williams in terms of how he's going to be as a player. They've lost his leadership and a lot of other stuff. So for me, 20 million to bring a player in who's of that quality and who can do that type of thing, and all the interaction he has with the fans at Liverpool is around the fact that he gets to the club and he gets to the fans and he shows the passion.
How much did Everton buy Ashley Williams for?
It was 12 mil.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot.
You know what I mean?
I get as a player, I get the value. I think we'd be lucky to get 20 in the fact that
just because of the circumstances.
Just for circumstances. As a complete footballer, you're just watching him and buying him. I think but I think they know we don't want him anymore, and they might try and I think
though the 20 million is because they know that.
You think it'd be more?
Yeah, fucking right. If we paid 25 million for Lovren 2 years ago, and we paid 17 for Sakho 3 maybe. What's he worth now in a normal market? I think he's worth 30 million plus. I think you've got a discount of a third there, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
the other thing as well is how many good centre-halves are going in January. Like, how many other teams now, like a World Football, are selling, exactly, because he is an international level centre-half. Like, how many of them are out there for teams who need that in the back line?
Again, I don't want to, time-wise, hopefully, time, it's your fault. I wouldn't be surprised to see him at Southampton. Obviously, we're playing Southampton, so I don't think they do it straight away. They might have to wait for a couple of weeks. We don't want him playing and stuff. But Jose Fonts, obviously, he's leaving, probably to United maybe, or around there. I think we might see Sakho go to Southampton, and in a reverse of us buying their players all the time, we might get one back.
Listen, what it boils down to is fair play to Liverpool Football Club, because, as we've said, my initial thing was a bit of surprise, because I'm kind of like, God, if you don't want him, if someone had come in and bid like 5, I could have see a situation where we accept a 5 million bid for him. We're all going, 5 million quid's low, but we're accepting of it because that's how Liverpool handle a transfer market. We let it be known we don't like people, and then clubs come in and run roughshod over us. Whereas we go, nah, because everyone knows there. And this is the thing about Sakho. If he gets back to playing first team football, if he plays every game for a team in the Premier League between now and the end of the season, he'll be back in the French team by the summer. And as exactly there, £20 million for a French international
centre half.
The other thing as well is that there's other teams, I know the agenda, but there's other teams as well. Like, isn't it like, instead there's like 9 clubs are after him? Like, we've only got 4 on the agenda there. Like, there's West Brom, Stoke. Like, it says a lot.
Push up the price, couldn't it?
It says a lot that there's a queue of people who are waiting to take him offers, like, even though he's not getting in our team.
Every manager's got it's a manager's ego, isn't it? There'll be loads of managers who, when you're at that tier below, when you're at the middle section of the Premier League, God knows we've flirted with it for a number of years, so we should know. You'll be thinking there's value to be had from there. That's a signing with exactly that. You might buy him for £20 million. You'd probably get him for a little bit cheaper, let's be honest. and you do a year at Premier League level, don't be surprised when another good club comes back in for him, because we said before about players who play for Chelsea and stuff like that. When you play for a couple of big name football clubs, your value actually kind of holds for a couple of moves after then. So,
and look, Liverpool, this is something that Liverpool have been getting better at over the last few years, haven't they? Look at the value that we got out of Bournemouth for the two players there. 15 million and £6 million.
Flying, Jordan.
And this is it, and they're crap right now, and this is a guy that's not crap, and Liverpool now have sorted themselves out, especially on the sales, and I think we maybe barter slightly too much on the transfers in, because we seem to drag on a little bit, but again, that's us reaffirming our position in world football. Don't fuck around with us. When we say this, we mean this.
Suppose the China money is dramatically increased prices anyway, so Chelsea want Oscar gone and he gets 60 million for him, so I suppose that's you have to take that into account with all transfers. Moving on to another player we sold then, and you mentioned profit. We signed Thiago Ilori for $3.5 million, never played him, and we've just sold him for 3.75 to Reading.
Yep, Stam.
Good research. I don't know.
Maybe Yap Stam, who was a formerly world-class centre-half, sees something that anyone who's ever coached him since he's come to England doesn't. This seems to me, Paul, the last of the getting shut of the really bad buys. So Alberto's pretty much gone, Balotelli's been shipped off, and then now there's the Ilori, Aspas obviously gone. Probably the last one, it's contentious to some degree, is probably Alberto Moreno, in that I think there'll be he'll probably go in the summer somewhere else, won't he? And we'll be able to say that was the last of those decisions where it was we bought a player based on probably like two attributes when we were looking for a bit more than that. The Ilori one for me, baffling. Like the whole thing, because it was reported it was going to be like 7 odd, wasn't it? 7 or 9 or whatever. He made all these things. Everyone ever saw him play for like the Portugal under-21s or whatever it is, whatever level it was. Raved about him, said he had, he was great. He was dead quick.
Pace.
He looked really composed.
I was going to say I never seen that pace. There was talk that he broke Ronaldo's record at Lisbon of pace.
Yeah.
When we first signed him, I'm making an idiot of myself here. I had a bet with a fella saying, I've watched the YouTubes, I've done the research, I've spoke to people. This lad's going to be brilliant for us. He'll play 100 games, and he was like, "No, Liverpool's transfers are shit. You're never going to get nothing out of him." Turned out he was right and I was wrong. It just didn't work. And what I would say, Chris, on a spin of positive, we've got our money back for a lad who, again, it's another good sale.
We'll be making a profit, and it is a good sale. And this is a guy that, fair play to Reading, that they're on the hunt for promotion and they want to make sure that they can get that. And you know what? If they want to take the risk on that and we're getting the money that we're happy with, brilliant. For me, I never ever saw it either, Steve. I never saw why we'd signed him. I never understood it. I don't understand the fans that wanted him to play and wanted him to succeed, because I never saw anything from him in a Liverpool shirt. And I understand the fans wanting him to succeed. That's great, but it was so like, we've had bad players before and all the fans hate him. This is the bad player who 70% of Liverpool fans love for no fucking reason.
Do you know why that is? In fact, anyone know why that is?
Because he's not scale.
Because on computer games, he's a young centre-half with bags of pace and can tackle a bit, and that's just because that's what happens when you play for an underside for a decent international team.
The only thing I've got with him is that I don't think when we signed him, I never saw why we signed him. I didn't see the need in the squad for signing him, if you know what I mean. There was other players who seemed to fit the bill better who we got in, like Sakho. But everyone I know who's seen him and who's seen more of him than I have, like playing under 23s football, which I know isn't the greatest level, I've said there's a player there. So it does make me think that maybe like in the same way we were saying a few weeks ago, like Aspas, he didn't work in the Prem, but in Spain he's great. Because it's a slower type of game, it's more technical. Maybe he works in a lower league, maybe at Redmen he goes on and he's great, you know what I mean? Or if he ends up going back abroad again, he might be really good. But I just don't know, I think there's probably something there, but it just doesn't work for us in this division.
He's still only 23 as well.
Another positive dead quick is we put a sell on fee in, which we keep doing. Again, I think that's a great positive. But just a quick discussion I wanted to have with you dead quick is, it's an example of how it's difficult to buy young centre-halves.
Yeah.
Because when did they get a chance to play? It's a really difficult thing to do. Man City have done it with John Stones, and they go through the teething problems of having a young centre-half. Trying to win the league.
How much to do that?
Trying to win the league with a young centre-back is, unless he's like an absolute worldie from day one. John Stones is a fabulous player, but he's struggling. That's the thing. When Liverpool eventually are going to have to upgrade, I think, what we've got. Matip, we've done a worldie to get him. His injury worries are starting to become more prevalent, I think. But there'll be a time when we need to replace Lovren, for example, Craig. And what do? It's hard to go and buy a 20-year-old, Chris, because you've just seen with this lad, managers can be reluctant to basically give them the head and get them in the team.
And the reason that they're reluctant to do that is because they're quite often facing the best players in the other team. Centre forwards, attacking midfielders, these are the guys that are paid the most money, are worth the most money for a reason. And actually, in point of fact, it should be kind of centre-back should be up there with them. Because if you've got a very good centre-back, and I believe there's only a handful of world-class centre-backs in football at the minute, they're worth their weight in gold. And it's such a difficult position to play, and it's not just one guy either. I think you can have an amazing centre back, but if he doesn't work with his partner, then you're fucked regardless. Yeah. You've got to think of centre backs as a tandem that are working together. They've got to train together. They quite often train on their own together, working on their movement together with the rest of the back line. It's such a difficult position to buy for, because you might have a really great centre back, but he doesn't work with the other guy. It's fucked. Yeah. You've got a 50 million. You've got a £50 million asset who's essentially shit because he's playing with a guy who doesn't fit his style.
I get the Ilori thing. I absolutely get it because again he come up through all the youth ranks through the Portuguese national team. He's come from that sporting academy, which has got an exceptional track record of providing good talent around Europe. He's tall. He was good pace. Whether he was that fast, I don't know. He had the attributes, but the problem is, I think he is a product of what Liverpool's transfer policy was at the time. And I don't know whether this was a Brendan Rodgers move or whomever, but it wouldn't surprise me if Brendan was the guy who drove it, because he probably wants someone who, like that, you know what I mean? Like this guy who's maybe got a little bit more about him or something like that in terms of being a footballer first and a defender second. Whereas what you're saying, Chris, centre halves, I think we've learnt this lesson. I think football will learn this lesson. Maybe it might be John Stones that proves the final nail in the coffin or something. But you got to defend first. You defend like fuck. Look at Plymouth the other week. You can put 2 League 2 centre halves in a team, and they can stop an international quality centre forward in Divock Origi from scoring goals. This is the thing that we've lacked at times, is that this mentality of getting guys who are supposed to be above and beyond. You're meant to get a guy who can defend like fuck first, and then you add the stuff on top. We've clearly taken a punt on him growing into something better than he was, and he hasn't. And as you say, not unventured, not ungained, mercifully.
I just want you to quick. John was going to say, the next time we sign a young centre half, because we will do it again, who we don't think's quite ready. I don't know if you agree. I think there's a case to give him to someone for 2 or 3 years on loan. So Chelsea did it with Thibaut Courtois, now he's a goalie, but they said to Atleti, you can have him for 3 seasons?
Well, you could have used Nathan Ake there, mate. You had a perfect chance to use Nathan Ake.
They just brought him back.
Who they've just brought back as a centre half from 2 years out or a year and a half out on loan, and you've gone with Thibaut Courtois.
Because they went, I was saying one club, that was my point. Give him to Huddersfield and say, listen, he's yours for 3 years, to Klopp's busy. I think that might be, I don't know if you agree, that could be a way to do it if we are going to do it again, because under 20, Thiago Ilori learned nothing playing under 23s. He never changed. We'd see him in a pre-season. He'd have a year playing under 21s or whatever, come back. He'd go on loan, not play, come back, and he's the same lad. And he just never developed, never had a chance to develop.
No, the point I was going to make was exactly that. I don't think, for everything we've done, and we've produced some good talent in the last few years from the academy, I don't think our system is set up to make good defenders. We haven't produced a good centre half. We haven't really produced any good fullbacks or anything in the back line, really. There's maybe things around Danny Ward in the goalie position. So I don't know whether we've got that in the academy and in the 23s, because I think, like Chris was saying, I think playing centre half and playing in that back line, it's something really, if you're gonna be really good in that position and end up being like a professional full-time player at a top level, it's something you need to do in that league. You can't learn it playing under 23 football or academy football, because you can teach them the basics, but they need to then do that in a proper game. And I don't know if we've got that, so I don't know how you coach it. So for me, if you're gonna go, if you send them to a top level championship team, just say, look, as long as he's playing every week, and we've started seeing us doing that with other people we've sent on loan, we're not bothered. Just make sure he plays games.
It's also about the circumstance of the club. I actually think that we've been in a good position, not this season, the last few years, to cultivate a good young centre back with the Europa League football and stuff like that. And the reason Chelsea, I don't feel, is a good place for that is because they're always vying for titles. They're always vying to try and get through the Champions League groups and all that type. Again, not this season. But now, we haven't got any games for a youngster. 2 years ago, when we're playing Europa League football, we've got games, good games that we can play these in. Next season, we'll be in the Champions League, and we're in a position where it's not a good position. Hopefully, we're not in a good position to bring and develop one of these centre-backs, because you can't be affording to lose Champions League games because you're blooding a youngster, and the League Cup just isn't enough for them, is it? So I agree. I just wanted to echo that point.
Yeah, it's a tough one. We'll see how they do with Joe Gomez. He's the next one who we've got to see how they get him minutes, how they develop him and stuff.
And maybe it's the way that we're potentially developing Trent Alexander-Arnold. Maybe it's a case of we're going to get them minutes in the side, and we've done it with Emre Can as well, not in their position. We're going to get them used to playing in the Premier League in a position that's not quite as
You're not dropping them
point.
in cold, are you? That's the point. Is that'll be the difference? Is that you want to? It's blooding, isn't it? Yes, exactly. You want Joe Gomez. Give him some games. He wants to go from 10 games to 20 games to 30. He should be a 3-year development period at the club if we think he's good enough. And that's why he goes from 4th choice to 3rd choice to in the first choice period of centre backs, and that's how this club should be running. I think that's what we're going to. Just a step on it.
And
I think that's what Klopp wants.
And it could be that, we get him in at right back like we did last season when we put him in at left back, and we just get him minutes on the field somewhere.
Definitely. A couple more dead quick ones on out. We discussed Lucas a lot on the last show, and we were wondering what the hold-up was.
I said to Steve, did you notice that he had his 2 kids with him in the warm-up at the game? So there was 2 mascots who he basically ignored, and he had his 2 kids with Daddy 21 on the back of the shirt, running around, kicking things, and I thought, well, there you go, that's his big hurrah.
Well, he'd had the medical at that point, hadn't he? According to sources,
From apparently the late interview with him, he come out and he said it was a loan, and he didn't want to take his family to Italy for 6 months with no car. If he'd have bought him, I think he might have went, but the fact it was a loan with a view to buy, I think kind of is basically what he said.
And the Italians are prime for that, aren't they? They love a loan with a view.
They love to fuck off a loan with a view to buy on us.
Napoli.
Every single season.
Benitez.
Yeah, well, Napoli, every club that took Aquilani off us.
I don't think anyone really knew who owned him by the end of it, to be honest with you. They were like, do we own him? Liverpool you're still playing for, oh, right, okay.
So I think that's covered why Lucas kind of didn't go. And he's also said he wants to play, but he's a bit worried that Liverpool might win the league, and he's not here. I think he wants to be part of any title challenge, which I get. So I just thought I'd throw that in there dead quick, just to tie up a few loose ends from last week. I do want to talk to you about this one. Emre Can has got 18 months left on his contract, and he still hasn't signed a new deal. And reports are today, Chris and it, is that Juventus want him.
Yeah.
That worries me, because Juventus are really good at buying players. They have been for a while now. The fact that he's only got 18 months left on his contract, and that this news leaks out, I am worried that his head might turn, because he's not a guaranteed starter and stuff.
Yeah.
It could be something that down the line becomes a bigger thing than it is.
Yeah,
now.
I think you're right there, and I think it could be a big problem for Liverpool. What's more likely is that his agent has started this.
To get a new deal.
To get a new deal or something. Yeah. That happens loads in football now. The actual really worrying thing is he'd really suit that kit. And he'd look fucking great in that Juventus kit. And I think he knows he'd look fucking amazing in that kit. And I think he likes the idea of that. Yeah, I don't know the guy. I've never spoken to him about it. But I have pictured him in a Juventus kit. And in my head, he looks the fucking balls.
He's very fond of his hair.
Yeah.
He told me that.
I saw that video.
He told me he was very fond of his hair. Yeah. It was like he was mocking me.
Can I have should we do a show of hands though? Like Emre Can, we sell Emre Can in the summer. Let's not say fee or whatever. Are you asked? Who's asked if we sell Emre Can in the summer?
Right now, he doesn't get into our first 11, but he's still a young player. We forget that, don't we? Or 22.
Well, we had this conversation. If
you're watching this on Thursday, he's 23. Right now, he's 22. So, yeah. But again, how many good young midfielders are there in the Premier League who are as good as him at his age? Not many. Yeah. You don't want to be losing your best young talent. It just sets a bad precedent if you can't do it. Yeah. Again, what he fits into a Jurgen Klopp team, we'll find out down the line if he does and doesn't. All I know is last year, Klopp was desperate to have him in his team. Absolutely desperate. He brought him back up with a broken foot or something to get him in the team. So I come to you then, John, on this one, is that how do you think Liverpool have got into a position where a good asset's only down to 18 months? It's not something that we do often. It's something that Liverpool tend to get
Yeah,
the guys tied up. We've got to a point now where we've got Chan with 18 months.
Simon Mignolet had like a 5-year contract extension.
And Kev Stewart.
Kev Stewart got 3.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's a hold up on negotiating wages, whatever, but we are in a position now where you're vulnerable to losing a good player because we found this is where we are. And a good team obviously wants him because that's what happens when good players become available.
I think the thing I could think on it is maybe you've got to ask how does he feature in the manager's plans. I mean, clearly, like you say, he clearly gets in the team and he clearly likes him as a player, but it's whether Klopp might see him. He might see someone else who's better than him, if you know what I mean. Like, he's great, and we're not denying that he's great, but Klopp might look like a Hood say and think, but I'd rather have him.
Which is actually what Juventus is saying as well, am I right in saying?
So I don't know whether it's some issue with that. I mean, I know some people who follow the club are kind of split on Chan, but I think the thing with him is you know, we were doing the other week, was it that Frank Kessie was in Italy and he's getting linked with Chelsea this week, and they're saying, you know, he's that kid who's on the cusp of being a really good player, get him in now because in 2 or 3 years time he'd be brilliant. For me, Chan is that, and he's just getting to that stage where he's about to become brilliant, and all of a sudden the conversations I'll be letting him go. So I hope someone at the club's sitting down and behind closed doors and it just gets announced that he signed a new deal, and all the stuff, you know, the build up to it, will he do it, won't he, is just gets avoided.
You just don't know with someone like Emre Can. I like him. I think he's a smashing player. But I don't. Again, this season should be an important one for him. Look, he's scored more goals this season than he's ever scored for Liverpool. I think he scored more this season than any of his seasons combined up to this point. So he's clearly improved. But there's something to be said for a player who at 22, 23, we're his third club already. You know, he's moved. He's moved a couple of times. The move to us was all a bit like, you know, we kind of got him through the back door. So whether his agent is that kind of agent as well, who's not shy of getting a deal over the line if he wants to make something happen. I think the fact of the matter is, it should speak volumes to go use an old Champman football manager tactic of, if Juventus want him, why don't we want him? Would be my thinking on this. I think we do. I think it's about finding out what his best position is for Liverpool. Because if it's one of the attacking midfield slots, then cool. If it's the defensive midfield slot, then what does that? If it's the defensive midfield slot, he's fine with Jordan Henderson for that one position. And we said we could change formation. Who knows? But if that's the case, is he gonna? If Jordan Henderson's the club captain, how many games is Emre Can going to play at this stage of his career? Is he going to be able to force Henderson out? I don't know. I hope he doesn't go. But sorry, go back to the original thing. I don't care because fuck him. You know what I mean? If he wants to go, if he wants to move, and that's the situation with the club are in with him, we'll just buy someone better.
If he goes, though, would you touch on that thing that we've said in the past, that are you letting him go to then bring someone else in who you've then got to get up to speed, who plays?
I think the thing with him is
already in the system, if you know what I mean.
He seems to be a very ambitious guy, and whether I've just judged that rightly or wrongly because of the moves that he's had, I would say, going back onto what Paul was saying there, if he's the defensive midfielder and Jordan Henderson's the man, I see Jordan Henderson being the man for some time now, and that will be his position. If it's an attacker midfielder, I've seen much better attacking midfielders than Emre Can, and Emre Can's done a good job this season, but there are a lot of better players out there than Emre Can if that is his position.
And also, I was on Twitter there, a few conversations with this. A general straw poll was there was people who'd let him go, you know, I'd sell him. Because there was
people who really don't like him, which I don't get.
There was talk more of, and I get this talk. Some of it is he's a good player, but I don't think he's a Jurgen Klopp player. I can't see he's not the one sitting, and I don't think he wanted two. I kind of get it. I think I'd like to keep him around and give it a shot. And at worst case, get him down to side to the contract and then sell him for shitloads of money if needs be.
If he's not dead clever, is he? I think that might be the real issue I have with Emre Can. I don't think he's... Because again, he's still, he is still young, and everyone's entitled to make the mistakes along the way. But I just see he just has those moments in games, and you think, like, if he was in front of you, go,
why?
A few brain farts.
Yeah. Here's the thing. And apologies, I can't remember who made this article that I read the other week. It was about Divock Origi and Emre Can, and it was either the Anfield Wrap or This Is Anfield. It was on Empire of the Cop. I'm pretty sure it was at the Anfield Wrap, and it was about, do we hold Emre Can and Divock Origi do we look at them differently as young players than the other young players, like Kev Stewart, who's actually older, much publicised? You know, we've got loads of young players in our squad, yet we seem to think of Emre Can as a fully fledged first team member and hold him to those standards. And is that fair from us as fans?
Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? The one thing you would say is he's played loads of games where someone like Kev Stewart hasn't. So there's you'd expect Emre Can to be further, much more further on in his development. But I agree.
But he is.
And he is. But it's just whether, is he good enough? I think he's good enough to play for Liverpool. It's whether, and he's obviously Juventus might think he's good enough for them. We'll soon find out. So let's move on to our ins section very quickly.
Someone that's definitely not coming in.
Well, last week, was it, when we spoke about the best defender in the world, Keane Harries. He come on trial with Liverpool.
Keane now? Thought we were going with Keane.
Keane?
Are we going with Keane?
That's what we went
I've been going with Keane. Fuck.
Oh,
Keane.
I'm an idiot.
Keane.
You sat down and decided this and then told me that's what you were
It sounds similar, doesn't it? So it's fine. We had him on
Something we
trial.
said?
Yeah.
We had him on trial.
Something I told him to do.
And he didn't. Who knows? He might have impressed me. We don't know. But the fact is, he's gone back to Coventry now. We'll wait and see what happens. So we didn't sign the best defender in the world, and we're all in this room. I think I'm unanimously saying we are devastated.
Gutted beyond all belief. I mean, I never watched the video of him, but I'm gutted for you guys.
He was literally he was the best defender in the world.
So yeah, that's that one done.
But we had this conversation that was quite
Absolute
interesting,
killer.
which is going to be very difficult to rekindle because it was really good and off the cuff. But the whole trialist thing was quite interesting. You know what?
The thing with the trialist is, yeah, we don't know much about him because this is the point we're making. It's very hard for people to write about trialists because they're not really meant to. I don't know if it's like an unwritten rule or a written rule, but he even comes up as trialist on the team sheet and stuff. So it's hard to get unless you're in Bangor last week or watching the game against Bangor last week. Then you might be you don't really know much about him.
Did he have trialist on the back of his shirt?
Or
no name?
He had a big number. That's all I know. Yeah, that's good. I forgot I needed that. We get that later. That's the hot Suso action that we're going to be talking about. Or is it? Anyway, moving on. The main transfer story this week that broke. James Pearson, the Echo, said that Liverpool are interested in signing Julian Brandt from Bayer Leverkusen, but it's in the summer.
You go,
Liverpool want Brandt. Yes, I'm in the summer. Yeah. So we're having pizza tonight for tea. Yes. Not Domino's, I bought it from the Asda. That's exactly how. That's what it was like. Click the button. Oh, James, what have you done to me here? Let's talk about the play first before we get on to the context of that because I've got my own theories on that. We had I think John was in on the conversation as well about suitability and stuff, and we were all. It was a few weeks ago now. We were talking about does he fit, and we were unsure. Since then, he's gone on a run of playing. I think he scored 5 in 9 or something in his last few games. He's really come to the boil at Leverkusen, playing a bit more centrally as well. In terms of a signing, he fits the bill, doesn't he? As a Klopp signing, young, Bundesliga, plays in numerous positions, and he's adding goals, which was something that we spoke about as numbers. It's just disappointing, Chris, that it's not now. It could be the summer.
Well, it is disappointing. And going back a few weeks, I think at the time I was most excited about Quincy Promes, which looks to be like it's a non-starter now, even though only 3 days ago that was the one that was almost going to be nailed on for this summer. I was talking to a lot of fans on one of the videos in the comments section and stuff, and a lot of the people who tended to watch the Bundesliga were like, actually Julian Brandt the guy that we should be going for, and I've sort of revisited, done a little bit of reading about him, watched a couple more videos and stuff, and I can see what they're talking about, to be honest. Yeah. He's the one now that sort of fits into this Liverpool side for me best, and I know that's a complete change of view from a few weeks ago. That's what research does, and that's what being a football fan is, isn't it? It is disappointing that we're not going to sign him this window. It actually says to me that we're probably not going to sign anyone this window.
I was about to say, very quickly, the story is that he gets a release clause in 2018, but we might sign him in 2017 because Leverkusen might want more money for him than he would get in 2018, if that moment.
He's just one of them, isn't he? He's 20 years old and he's a talent, and he's that kind. What you mentioned before, John. He's that kind of. He's set to break out. Someone's going to buy him. Sooner rather than later, and it should be, as far as I'm concerned, it should be us, because we should be able to use the whole Bundesliga thing as as the Klopp thing is as a reason to get these kind of players. What's the point of having Jurgen Klopp as your manager if you can't go and nick the best hot talents from the Bundesliga before someone else comes in and gets them, and then you're looking at 50, 60 million if you ever want them again in the future?
Yeah, but now you say that Julian Brandt's not unknown now, is he? Everyone
No.
knows him. You're just hoping that Liverpool are an attractive club,
but
via Klopp.
Exactly, that's the thing. And also, hopefully, by the time the summer comes around, we're going to be competing alongside clubs, and the Klopp factor will then come into it, because you might have clubs with more money or whatever, but hopefully, as we've touched with already, Champions League.
Where do you sit on it, John? Because I know you're a Promos fan as well, aren't you?
I like Brandt, of what I've seen of him. I haven't watched the Bundesliga as much this year, but when you see like that Leverkusen team back, like, the last couple of years, they've had a good track record. I mean, they're the team we bought Chan off. They've got a good track record of bringing kids in, as like most of the Bundesliga does, bringing like youth prospects through, but they've got a good spine that's quite young in terms of the people they have. I know he's regarded as being like one of the next big wonder kids that's going to come out of Germany. It's him and Sané who are going to be playing on the wing for Germany for the next 10 years. I like him. My only worry with it is I think this is his season. You know, the same way we had Sterling, and then he was great, and we heard about him for years, and then he had that season, and then that's where the 50 million from City comes from. I worry that if we leave it till the summer, it's not. You know, 20. The price I read in the Echo was 20 million. It won't be 20 million in the summer. He's that good. It'll be 40, 50, whatever.
And Bayern Munich will link, which obviously which happens.
Game over.
And there's money. No, there's well, he said he's turned Bayern down once. He'd happily do it again for someone else, but not for 20. You want if Bayern are in, Bayern will be prepared.
Listen, if he goes for a reasonable fee, we've made it quite clear that guy, and if we are to buy him for where he looks like he plays from the left and comes in on his right, you know, he's very right-footed, isn't he? And I know he's played a bit more central, whatever. He looks like that, and I've talked about it, the Coutinho understudy. He was a few years younger, so that when Phil Coutinho inevitably, whenever that bid comes in, that we can't turn down for Phil Coutinho. We've got this lad who's been training under him, who's ready to step up. And we talked about Pulisic being a potential for that one. And for me, Brandt is exactly that, because he's a little bit further on in his career, isn't he? He's played a bit more. You know, last season he had a great season. I did a quick look into it, thanks to Transfer Market, of course. 9 goals and 5 assists in 29 last season, in a very, very good Bayer Leverkusen team. They've been a bit shit this year. I think he's only got 2 goals and 6 assists, which is an improvement.
The thing with him as well, he played in the Olympics, and there was talk, if you speak to people who, again, watch the Bundesliga or comment on it, that he just looked a bit knackered at the start of the season. And since now he's kind of hit a stride, and it's, like I say, 3 goals and 5 assists, I think, or something, in his last 9 games. So he's coming into the boil. And you mentioned Coutinho role. I see him more in a Firmino role. I think he looks better central. For example, I don't think Coutinho does. I think Brandt is starting. It's no coincidence that he's getting better now, where he's starting to be more involved in the action, and that's only a positive. Again, it's whether we can get a deal done. Me
and Chris touched on the stats show, which I think will be out by the time this goes up. But
time's mad, isn't it?
The time's mad. Time. But I really like Mane for the fact that he's dynamic and he can play as a midfielder and a 10 as a winger. He's just a really good footballer, and he can do all of those things. And I think Brandt's got an element of that in his game. He's just really good. So he might end up playing on the left wing if you sign him, and then he might end up, you know, in a few years' time playing in the 10 or playing where Lallana plays or where Firmino. I just think he's a good footballer, and I don't think you can have enough of that. And where he ends up playing on the pitch, where he gets his minutes, is that's why Klopp's getting paid loads and loads of money to decide that. You know what I mean? He just knows he's a good player.
Given the best players, and you figure out.
He's in rotation with Pedro and me, Pro Evo, my club team. Just saying. He's an up and coming star, and that's good enough for me. It's good enough for Liverpool Football Club.
It's a dangerous boat to be getting in, because that's how we ended up with
Thiago Ilori,
mate,
and Danny Pacheco.
So yeah, don't buy players off Pro is the message we've learned. Or do, if you're Paul. One or you decide. You touched on it before, like this is where I was going to come back. For me, it's no coincidence that in a window when a few other clubs are doing business or said to be doing business, and Liverpool aren't, that a renowned Liverpool writer with contacts at Liverpool comes out with a big name signing who we all love, say that we're going to sign him in the summer. To me, it just smacks of, you know what, lads, you aren't buying anyone. We're not buying anyone, but if we try and let Liverpool say, you know what, let's appease the masses by putting this big name out there that they're going to get in 6 months' time. That's how I took it.
Yeah.
Is that how you took it?
Exactly. And, you know, I also factored in that Liverpool did their business really early in the summer transfer window, and I was expecting signings this week.
Yeah, me too.
If Liverpool were going to make signings, I thought it was going to be this week, and we'd have done our research for the last 3 months and get these deals over the line. So yeah, Piers coming out and giving us news about summer transfers says there's nothing to talk about now, but I'm going to get me clicks regardless, and I'm going to get me clicks by Julian Brandt.
Yeah, to an extent, but he'd have got that information from someone, I think, at Liverpool. I don't think...
Oh, no, yeah, totally.
No, but I don't think he would have got that by accident. So you say about him getting his clicks, but I see it more as... And he will, because it's a great story. It's a good piece of journalism. He's found that out. However, he's got it. But Paul, to me, it just looks as if Liverpool have gone, you know what, we've been through Januaries before when it's gone mad. Yeah. Let's try and settle everything down.
We are going to end up signing Keane Harris... And we're probably not got time to discuss him now, but there's this rumour of this 8.7 million bid for Francesco Casata, this 19-year-old kid on loan at Ascoli from Juventus. And it wouldn't surprise me if we're like a week to go in the window, a couple of little shitty signings snuck under the radar just to bolster the ranks in a wider sense. You know, maybe we sign another couple of 15-year-olds or something, and we all go. Because you're dead right. If Brandt is what we're focusing on, and we know that we could do with buying wingers or people in those sorts of positions, let's say, you're not going to now go and buy someone else now. Necessarily. Yeah. I think it decreases the chance of us going to buy someone in those positions right now if we think that that's going to be our major piece of business in the summer.
I agree, and I'll come to you on this, John. It said also Liverpool still on Pulisic, and again, they resigned to the fact that they're going to have to wait till the summer, and the same with Brandt. In a way, I suppose, I don't know if you agree, should we take it as a positive that Klopp isn't willing to compromise himself? He knows the players he wants, and he's not going to be short-termist and think, you know what, the next 4 months they do matter because we might win a league, but he's thinking long-term. You know what, I'd rather not settle for someone for 4 months who I'm not sure. I'd rather wait till someone and get the absolute nail-on lads who I definitely want.
Yeah, I mean, we've needed a long-term plan, I think, for years, and it was something he touched on when, what's-his-face, got made director of football to Steve Parish, or...
No, it's Mike Edwards now.
Mike Edwards, sorry.
Steve Parish is the blonde fella from Palace.
Isn't he?
He's a bellend. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just throwing that out there.
But he said, you know, in the press conference, after that, he got asked, and he said, you know, the problem with this club, I find, having been here 18 months, is that every time someone else has come in, they've said everything at the club is wrong. And they've had to change everything. They changed the youth setup, they changed what goes on behind the scenes, the transfers, how we play football. He said, and that shouldn't change manager to manager. He said, most of that should stay the same, and it's up to the manager to get the results from the first team. And this is an example of that. I think if we're planning more long term, you know, Klopp's done very well, I think, to balance our expectations as fans, but also the board's expectations of where the club needs to go. And you know, it's all right coming in your first year and your first big press conference when you haven't done anything and saying in 3 years' time we'll win a league title. Well, it's different. You've got to get there. And if the board, if FSG weren't happy with them, and we saw this with Rodgers, all of a sudden there is questions. And I think Klopp, going off last year when he didn't really have any signings he brought in, we got to 2 finals and we were playing really good football, scoring loads of goals. You've seen this year how that's progressed. I think they're happy just go, look, you do the football stuff.
Can I be the voice of anger in this one?
Go on.
We'll know more in 2 weeks' time, but there's a very real chance that Liverpool will have to reshuffle the pack and I know you've done a lot on this on the stat show. We could shuffle the pack, we could move Lallana to the wing, and we could do blah blah blah. And whatever we've been doing well in an attacking sense completely falls to bits because just having someone of Mane's pace in that side, we could be able to find out how integral that's been to what we do. And if we fall short this season because we should have pushed something through in January, and I don't mean anything, I mean something. I mean I can't believe that there's not a target that we could make happen for. It might cost a bit more money, but again, just swing it round a bit more, make something happen. And I don't know. I don't know because we'll never know what happens behind the scenes of football clubs. But I can't be the only one. I won't be the only one amongst Liverpool's fan base who will think this is an opportunity. We are clearly there or thereabouts this season. There's a clear gap there. This is not the left back argument from the summer, which I wasn't on board with. I thought if they're happy, I'm happy. This is clear because the manager's been saying it all fucking summer, and also we are short of wingers. We've now we bought one. He's been boss. He's now gone for the spell of the season. We've seen what's happened without Phil Coutinho. We don't know if Phil Coutinho's going to have any lingering effects coming back, etc., etc., etc. It seems like another one of those situations where we're into a January again. We know what we need. Clubs go out and do what they need to get done if they want to go and succeed, you know, and it's daft, but Chelsea normally do it. I know that they may go and buy someone else in this window and it might shock world football. I don't expect us to go and break the world transfer record for someone, but again, they knew they needed another centre half. They've gone and they've gone and sorted their problem out. We've got a problem. I would be comforted by us sorting that problem.
I'm 100% on it. I think 13-14 we didn't win the league because we didn't sign. I know it's easy to say. I think our backup options weren't good enough. This is different because we have got good backups, but for the style of footy we play, I think from October it's been clear how important someone with pace is to our team. So Klopp and the team, they've had 6, 7, 8 weeks to figure out. You know, they knew Mane was going. Yeah, I agree. I think if they don't do it and they don't win the league, they could live to regret it. If, for example, the Conor Plianka deal goes through that on that day, who knows what happens? You're not bringing Aspas on against Chelsea, you're bringing Conor Plianka on against Chelsea.
My thing to actually to go against both of that is, I think it's a lot more than just pace that Mane offers this side.
Oh yeah,
and I think that to boil it down to just pace is actually a little bit silly.
Oh no, it's not boiling it down to just pace. The point is, because you could go, let's go and buy David and Mubach. We're not. The point is that
a good player with pace.
Hang on, let me finish my point. What my point is that you are not just simply dropping somebody into that with pace to be able to replace Sadio Mane. What you need is somebody who has worked as hard as he has. And don't let it fool you. And I know it doesn't fool you. When we talk about fluid attacking football and this front three with Firmino up top and Coutinho on the left, that's worked on in training. Yeah. And if we can't get the right guy in, what's the fucking point of blowing our money on it? Because there's players out there who'll come in and do a good job. I agree with you on that. But if it's not the right player long term, and if the plan is a 3-year plan, and there's a finite amount of money available to Klopp, and he knows that, and he's got to build that through next season, and he thinks he can get a better player at the end of the year to sustain us to be title challengers for the next 5 years, then I absolutely advocate not buying someone in this transfer window for the future of the football.
Yeah, that's absolutely. I mean, look, that is the sensible view. But what they all boil down to is, again, like I said, no one really knows what it is behind the scenes, because it just comes to me that if that is the case to some extent, and he's managing a budget and a long-term target, yada yada yada, it's everything's a gamble in footy.
Of course, yeah.
And if it exists within the realms of possibility that you take a little bit more of a spin, you push a little bit more out in this January to go and get one of your targets 6 months earlier. If it costs you, again, look, we live in a world where I can say, £10 million more, like it's nothing, when it's more than any of us will ever see in a million lifetimes. But you know, I don't know. That's where, and whether it's a sensible argument or not, it'll be the argument of a vast majority of Liverpool fans.
I agree. It's not easy to play for a Klopp team. I agree. There's somewhere where they done extra sessions, they put the fitness stuff in. It's no coincidence that he thought he had to do that. My point would be,
and you're looking at dropping someone in for 8 games, and you're hoping him to be up to speed and fucking firing for those 8 games that Mane's not there.
Yeah, I think if it was me, and again, I'm with Paul, it's a stupid thing to say, and I am aware of this before I get it. Get a player who he knows, who he's worked with, who's played in this system and he likes, and it's Christian Pulisic. What do you want for him? Well, we'll take 30 in the summer. Yeah, lads, have 40 now. Yeah. It's really, really simple to say that.
But I don't necessarily agree to take games either, because you're talking about a world where... Sorry, Joe.
But it could be won and lost in those 8 games.
True, exactly, yeah. But we're also in a world where right now, if Roberto Firmino had played better on the left side of our attack, I don't think this would be as much of an issue.
Yeah, you're right.
Whereas, and I've said this prior to this, John, is that we've got, at the minute, we're faced with a situation where we're forcing square pegs into round holes, which, you know, look, you kind of have to deal with the hand you've got, you know, live with the hand you've been dealt or whatever, to some extent. But again, just having someone else who's more of a specialist in those positions could be a difference maker, is why, you know, I guess any upset would be formed.
It is, but the thing I think that I've got all these people we've been linked with as well, except maybe for Promes, which is why I'm confused as to why that deal's kind of a thing, like, is they're all Champions League players. And I don't mean in the sense of they play in the Champions League, I mean they are Champions League players. If we are 3 years down the line, been in the Champions League, 3 years running, they're the hot young wonder kids you bring in to bolster your team. You know, they're when you see, you know, Bayern Munich signing Renato Sanchez, and he's only just appeared, and everyone's like, oh, he's brilliant, isn't he? And he's already at Munich, and he's the next. He's going to replace Ribery or Robben. Yeah. These are those types of players, and we're not there yet. And I don't mean it's not that we won't be there. I look at them and just think you need to be able to play at the highest level, and you used to play at the highest level, and it's going to cost that type of money to get you here. So why is I get where people come from when they say it could make the difference in the title challenge, but I don't think. I think it's two different arguments. It's what do we need to get over the line in the league is different to having, if you know what I mean, like having them.
I think there's just a fear factor that creeps in, and it can't help but creep in because we've had it in so many different circumstances about Liverpool for the last 18 months or whatever, is that we go, well, when we get to the summer and we've got Champions League, then I've heard that argument from Liverpool for 20 years. That when we reach this point in the summer, that means that Liverpool can do this. It's not. It's money money and influence talks. And again, I would be comforted if nothing else. Just me personally would be comforted if Liverpool just went, you know what, fuck it, go for it, make that happen now. Like I say, just go fuck it, right? We're going all in on this guy because we feel that's going to make a big difference.
Financially, we're in a different world than Man United, but Man United made Pogba happen. They just said, we want him and we're having him, and there's nothing, we're doing it, and we're doing it now, and there's 90 million quid. And I'm not advocating that Liverpool's because they probably haven't got it, but I think there's a point in time where you need to basically get your balls out and just be the boss and say, you know what, you know what, Dortmund, no, we're not waiting until the summer. We're going to test your resolve, and we're just going to keep putting bids in until we get Liverpool. He must be worth 50 million in Liverpool's head. We'll just keep bidding extra five, and eventually we'll get him. That's what I would like us to do this, but we're not going to, and I begrudgingly accepted that.
I was going to say, do you think we've got on the agenda here, like Emil Forsberg, not for sale? He to me is the type of player we should be chasing. Like, I know people go, well, how do you know he's done it? But he's clearly very good because he's the top of the league in Germany or near top of the league. He's the type of guy we should be looking to get in because he's already up to speed.
Top of the league in Steve's book, by the way.
Yeah, first, second, same thing.
But all this thing about like for 40 million, 50 million, if you can get him in now, because if you're saying like why isn't it the first week in January, do the business early? There's no point getting someone in who's going to play in man's position if we get him in on like the 29th. It's just you've missed most of them where they're going to be effective.
It's just a hope and expectation thing, isn't it? And that's where we're at, and it's horrible because you can look. We've seen this plenty of times. You can buy a player and you can spend whatever money you want on him, and he can just be shit sometimes. So there are no guarantees with buying players. The thing that we've got is
Robbie Keane.
Exactly. We're looking at that. I'm personally looking at that squad, and looking what we've got available to us, and I'm of the opinion that Shea Ojo, he might not be a world beater, but he could prove useful between now and the end of summer. He could crop up with a goal or two here or an assist or two that could have a vital impact. Similarly, we might, because you've talked a lot about, we might see Daniel Sturridge playing going back to one of the wide positions. Now, if you go judging on the Burnley performance, that's a fucking car crash waiting to happen. It's going to be horrendous. But Daniel Sturridge is a very intelligent footballer. He's a good footballer. He could do that. And that could just fucking work. But this is the problem that we're in, is that my fear of buying someone for a bit more money than we want to spend or whatever is less than us hoping that this bunch of players who are unproven in the positions we need them to be in come good in those positions. That's me sort of fear balance at the moment.
I 100% agree. I think we'll part that one there. That was a bit serious. So let's do something a little bit light-hearted. Chris, Alexis Sanchez isn't signing a contract at Arsenal as we speak. There's disputes. He's got a cob on. He's walking off at Bournemouth crying. He wants loads of money. They tried to screw us over with Suarez, 40 million quid. What bid should we put in for Alexis Sanchez? We might not even want him, just to piss Arsenal off a little bit. What would you do?
How much did they sell Lord Bentner for?
But he went on a free, didn't he?
That bid.
Just submit a bid. Can we have Alexis Sanchez for nothing, please?
Hi guys, we're interested in taking Alexis Sanchez. Oh, how much? No, we're just interested in taking him. Is that no? We should go in with a slightly undercutting bid, like a slightly offensive but not too offensive bid that we can genuinely afford. So if we've got a £40 million budget to spend, I would go in with 40 million and I would chuck in
the quid.
No, you know what? Yeah, exactly. 40
I'd take it off.
Yeah, but 39.
No.
Or you know what? I'll be honest. Look, we put a cuntish bid in for Sanchez. I honestly would put in something that just to turn Arsenal fans' heads. So I would offer 40 million plus Daniel Sturridge for Alexis Sanchez, and just let Arsenal's online scene fucking explode.
Just
let them deal with that.
Just stew on that. So let's unsettle her. They unsettled Luis Suarez.
Well, hang on a
John.
minute. If we're unsettling them, can we get Liverpool to do the bid live on Arsenal Fan TV? Because that would really fucking blow up. So I'd be sending someone down there. I'd be sending someone down there to meet with Claude and Ty and Robbie and everyone and put the bid in and say, come at me, Wenger, what do you think of that one? Like, you know what I mean? That would be fucking brilliant.
Who's the lad who says famila? Can we get him to do it?
Don't know, but no.
I like him.
Troops.
Yeah, let's get Troops talking about, if Sanchez plus Sturridge, fam. What do you think then? What's your bid for Sanchez? Let's just go and annoy Arsenal. Or, you know what, or in a mad world, let's try and buy a good player off them. Who knows?
How long has he got 18 months left on his deal? Mad. Yeah, 40 million and £2 and go for it. You know what I mean? Just
£2.
Just see how they go and just, like you say, not even even if it doesn't come off, just be like, just put there, because Wenger clearly didn't have the bottle to do it with Suarez, did he? He should have just come in and went 60 million or whatever it was that we wanted, and he didn't have it, so just do it back to him, just go ahead. I mean, we're clearly not serious, but you know, who knows what happens.
See what happens with Sanchez, mate. Because you know what, odds are he probably just wants to go and play for Man City or Bayern Munich or whatever, or go to Italy, whatever. But you know what, that exists within the realms of possibility, because humans are like that, so humans are fickle creatures, that he might go, no, I'm really upset that you've rejected. You've chat again, footy manager stuff. He's upset that you've decided to reject Liverpool's bid for him, and then all of a sudden they go, they're forced to go, well, 18 months, we've got an unhappy player, and they go 60, and then Jürgen goes back to the board and goes, I know it's not really in the budget, but
you know what?
Can you sell the Boston Globe?
It's the first time I've come and asked you this as well. Remember that?
Yeah, come for the board request. Sell the Boston Globe. Let us have Alexis Sanchez.
So you can use all my birthday presents and all my Christmas presents as well.
Can I have me next 2 Christmas presents, please? Yeah, absolutely.
Just to reduce your wage bill and then put the thing up. Mesut Ozil, 2018 as well. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, but I'm not unsure which way he's looking.
That's where we're at. Right, Paul found this very interesting poll. I say found, someone emailed it to him.
Someone had the audacity to tweet us about this and then email us completely unsolicited as though we were going to give it loads of free promotion. And we are going to talk about it, but we're not going to tell you what brand it was from.
And I don't know on the paper.
It's not even on the printout.
So yeah,
fuck you.
If I said to you, Chris, have you seen this?
No.
Good. In. What area?
I tried to have a look then.
That's fine. This is a pop quiz.
Steve's actually got 2.
I've got 2, yeah. I've got 3. Apparently it's a poll that has come out of Liverpool fans. I don't know who they were, who asked them or whatever, because Paul wouldn't tell me. What area do you think Liverpool most need to strengthen now? What position do you think these people said? These Liverpool fans?
These people? Goalkeeper.
Yeah. 46% want a new goalie, 27 want a centre-back, 11 want a holding mid, and 16 want a striker.
So the area that Liverpool most need to strengthen is right now.
In goal.
It's just, by the way, it's genuinely not a new goal.
It's not. Totally not.
Like, in fact, I want to just see if I can find how many votes this was out of. I think it was like 9. I think it might have been like 8,900.
9 votes.
It's like a fucking L'Oreal advert.
I was going to say, I've done that. I did a bit of a sample size work in school. I know that's a poor sample size. My teacher would fail me if I got that. 90% of the people in this class want to go on a school trip, miss. There's only 7 years. So 2 years done. Maths, do maths. No, that's not bad maths. But yeah.
So anyway, nearly 9,000 polls. But there's 4 of these polls, and I think they'll have done it collectively. That's not that many people polled anyway. So they go on 46% for a new goal.
Which player do you think Liverpool should sell in January? Who do you think got the most votes out of
that? I'm gonna go with Jordan Henderson.
What do you think, John? Have you seen it?
I've got it.
You've got it, never mind, then that's cheat. It was actually Daniel Sturridge for 32%. 17 wanted to sell Danny Ings, even though he can't walk. Poor Danny Ings don't run. I know. Poor Danny's like, what have I done? 25 Sakho and 26 Moreno. I feel sorry for Danny Ings on that. That's the first thing I'm taking is the poor lad. Who's he offended?
8,900 very hateful human beings.
Who's he offended?
The answer there is Sakho, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not
Daniel Sturridge. Sakho.
You
the one who literally will not play for Liverpool this season.
But who should
Liverpool buy?
In fact, it's phrased, who players should Liverpool sell in January?
That's what it says on the poll, yeah. Who players should Liverpool sell in January? That's
interesting.
So let's go with the next one. Who should Liverpool buy in January? And here's your options. Pulisic, Moussa Dembele, I think it's the Celtic one, but who knows?
The 7.
Because they've got the same name, the Spurs one as well. Javier Hernandez or Jeffrey Kondogbia, who do you think won?
Pulisic.
No, it was Moussa Dembele. And again, I don't know if these people have fell into the same trap as me of not knowing which Dembele it is. Because when I first saw it, I thought, oh, Spurs Dembele.
Spurs Dembele, but I was like, that is fucking ridiculous. Why would you dream up Spurs Moussa Dembele as the player we want to decide, even though he's great?
And then it might be the Celtic one.
Which we've been linked with tentatively, if nothing else.
And he's a good player.
But I like the fact that Chicharito, because, yeah, go ahead, Chicharito, second.
Would you have Chicharito then, John?
I would,
29% of people agree with you.
And Jeffrey Kondogbia.
Pulisic actually come last on this. Well, joint last with Kondogbia. The same amount of people want Kondogbia as want Pulisic.
That's mad.
Yeah, that's madness.
Yeah, go figure
Madness.
that one. And where will Liverpool finish in the league this season? The options are champions, runners-up, third and fourth, or outside the top 4. What do you think voted, these people?
Third.
38% of the people said we'll finish third or fourth. 16 said we'll win the league, 24 runners-up, and 22% outside the top 4.
See, they're not Liverpool fans.
Okay, what do you think they are?
Manx.
Yeah.
At least 20, how many? 24% said finish 5th?
22%.
22% are definitely Manx.
Yeah. The fans have spoken, apparently. I'm not sure who they're fans of, but apparently that
So
was
John
the thing.
W, if you're watching, which I know you are, and you haven't sold the Boston Globe yet.
Let's replicate this. Let's do this as a poll for our fans.
Yeah. The problem is we'll have to, I guess, unless it's got, because Twitter polls, you can only have 4, can't you? So I guess we'd have to,
We can do it as a graphic.
Can we?
Oh, this is mad. It's all going a bit technical. We're having a production meeting on the show.
We can do it as a Facebook graphic and get people to do either a ha-ha or a like, blah, 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 blah.
But what do we just actively replicate that to see if the results match up with the people voting?
What we'll do, I'm going to make an executive decision. Chris, get it sorted.
I'll just sort that.
On the Facebook, and then we'll come back next week with the proper Liverpool fans, you guys, what you want, not these 8,900.
Well, it will be on Facebook, so there's every chance it could be a load of Max.
I trust the Redmen TV followers to be sound.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good on you.
Nice one. Yeah, well, they're all right to me. So yeah, fine. Dead quick then. We'll round up with the last one. It's the Pep Lijnders interview that come out with Jonathan Northcroft, or it didn't come out because he didn't have room for it in the paper. So Jonathan just put it on Facebook.
Fair play, son.
Cheers, Johnny.
Yeah, brilliant.
The thing I took from it, Chris, I don't know if you agree, is that Pep Lijnders is much more interested in the lads as lads and getting them together with the first team than he is actually about cones and drills and stuff. It's more about getting them in their heads that they're good enough to be Liverpool players. Is that what you took from, or have I took that slightly differently?
There's a few different ways I looked at the article, to be honest. The fact that he's so interested in the development of youngsters is the first thing that really stood out to me, and he seemed passionate about it. And sometimes it's very difficult, and you wouldn't get this if you were interviewing Wayne Rooney in any way, shape or form. You wouldn't get passion from an interview. These are written words, and I felt like this guy wants this, he fucking believes in this, he fucking loves this. And Jonathan Northcroft's a great journalist, and part of that will be him drawing it out of him. But I think a large part of the Pep Lijnders stuff is that he is genuinely, honestly, really passionate about this type of stuff. But the thing that I found most interesting was looking at the youth side and him talking about, you know, Trent Alexander-Arnold was the 6 and Woodburn was the 10, and he built his side around those two positions, and everything else came from that. And I'm looking at it now going, this is a guy who's training the first team, who's in charge of getting these youngsters up to speed, and we're seeing Trent Alexander-Arnold in at right back. Well, that clearly isn't his position, because I think Pep Lijnders will have a lot to do with the development of these players.
I was actually going to mention this when we talked about the Emre Can, the defensive midfield thing, that it'd be interesting to see if we would get to a world where Trent Arnold becomes the understudy to Jordan Henderson in that position, if he thinks he can do it. But that was one of the big takes I took from it. There was just two more, just quickly, was the fact that he talked about this, is about how far away Kirby is, which is another you know, they're agitating to get that sorted. But also we basically said along, and what I talked about have this line of progression for positions where he basically, he's puts these players in Klopp's eye line, so Klopp knows when this left wing is out and this one's out, this is who is the natural progression to come into this team. It's not him going, I'm going to be randomly throwing people into positions, which we could see in the next couple of weeks. And the last one was, he talked about himself and the role he plays, he hinted at the role that the other technical guys play, and he basically almost like described Klopp as this motivational figurehead that sits at the top of it. He didn't say like Klopp's a tactical genius. He basically said, I've had the suspicion for a while that like Klopp isn't the guy who fucking makes it all fucking tick. He's the guy who makes it all tick, but he's not the cogs. He's the fucking guy who fucking puts the oil in the fucking cogs. Like,
I think it was, I can't remember if it was Guardiola was talking about Klopp in this way, and that in the he is, Klopp built a team around him, and the team is works perfectly with one another, and you've got the brain who is the footballing nous of that team, and Klopp's very much, and I've said this a while ago, the brain couldn't get a work permit when Klopp came into the club, and Klopp made sure that he was given the same opportunities as Klopp when he came into the club. I don't know whether you know this. So Klopp, they hired a private jet for. He made Liverpool hire a private jet for the brain and bring him in exactly the same way, because he said to Liverpool, he's as important as I am, and I'm the figurehead. And there's a lot of people out there, tacticians, who say Klopp isn't a tactician. You're right, Paul. He's the guy that has the guy who's the tactician, but he's the motivator.
It's more like it feels to me, John, a bit like the Alex Ferguson setup.
Yeah.
Like he'll, accept that, and it's something that we haven't really got time to do. But I love the fact when you hear Klopp talk about it, and that's why he wants his team. They all go out bevying in Formby. Like him and the wives are all mates, and like they're a little gang of him and Buvac and the other guy, and they all hang out together, and they spend all their off time together, and they all speak the same language, and all kind of they're a little unit, and they all have the different roles to play within that.
They do, and the good thing with the Fergie comparison is like Fergie. That's how Fergie was the one guy who was the continuity, and the way he kept it fresh was he brought new coaches in underneath him, and he obviously oversaw all that. But they've clearly got a good working relationship, and reading around how they work, they've all got different roles, and clearly it's different strengths. And then Klopp's kind of the guy who oversees all of it and brings it all together and goes, right, well, here's how we do it. He micromanages that. So that's great that he's got that. And I think that's how you get the best out of everything. You know what I mean? Like if it was just him doing everything, which is what happened to Rodgers eventually. And, some people say that he kind of wanted it that way. But you saw how you can quickly become unhinged when stuff starts getting away from you.
As well.
You know what I mean?
Made himself far too important.
Yeah.
So I love it. I think it's great, and as I say, that was really. Everyone should go and read it.
It's on really Facebook. Good. If you go to you'll find it on Facebook and stuff over there. It's a popular website.
We'll put the link in the description.
Is that what you want to do?
Yeah, let's put the link in the description of the video.
Who's doing that?
Side, Tom,
Hand up from side.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, the link's in this. There you go. Then that was a wasted 30 seconds because you've seen the link. It's already there. We'll wrap up there then, lads. Thank you very much.
Chris, do you want to wrap up?
Do you know what? No, not really. But I am going to say, listen. I've said this on the LFC stat show as well. I hope you've enjoyed this Freeview show. I think, the Reds Transfer Show is a show that we do throughout the year, but it does change to the transfer show for the period when the transfer window is open. So we do the daily news shows on YouTube when we can. This is where we get into the nuts and bolts of it. This is where we like to discuss it, when we take it a little bit further, when we start to have discussion topics as well. If you've enjoyed this, please do go over to the redmentv.com. It's just £2 a month. It does afford us to be able to do absolutely everything that we do on YouTube. You will have already seen, hopefully, the Liverpool stat show. We've got the Reds Transfer Roundup that you've just watched. It is a long hard stop, but it's fucking great because we're talking about the best sport in the world and the best fucking football team in the world with the best fucking people in the world as well. And then we've got the Final Word show, Southampton, which might be out before this show, hopefully about a win in the semi-final. We've got the Final Word show for Manchester United coming out as well. You'll get to see all of this, and if you like the rhythm of these shows and you love this, do go over and support the site. But first and foremost, to make sure that this video gets as many views as it needs, we need you to like the video. You've got to go and press that thumbs up button, comment below, because we'll all be in the comments section as soon as this goes live. We'll be talking about everything that you guys want to talk about. We want to know what you think about Julian Brandt, whether you think we're right or we're wrong on signings. And finally, subscribe to Redmen TV, subscribe to Mates TV, and subscribe to Retro Football TV. Anyway, for me, for the host, they always did a fucking fantastic job. For John and for Paul, we're out of here.
Lads, we forgot the Hot Suzo action.
Maybe we should just never mention it.
You know what? Tune in next week for the Hot Suzo action.
Hot Suzo action next week.
Soz.
Coming in your ears.